So for those of you who do not know Rob Thomasson, he is the regional manager for the Phoenix region, which covers 4 states. And you have 80 direct employees, and you have about 600 TSMs that you're responsible for, and 2,000 branches, right?
Well, that's a lot of TSMs. It's actually 13 TSMs.
13, but you were...
Wow, my responsibility just really expanded.
Where did I get 600? I was like, wow, that is a lot of TSM. That's a territory sales managers.
So about 600 assigned customers to the 13 TSMs.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
About 2,000 active accounts doing business with us.
There you go. Okay, so I was like, wow, I didn't even know Goodman had that many TSM. So, you know, when we talk about leading, well, it was leading through transition. You and I were we were putting back and forth just ideas on what you were going to talk about. And what even keeps rolling around in me, starting even this morning, right before we got on here, is the law of the lid. And for those of you who do not know or understand what the law of the lid is, it is one of John Maxwell's irrefutable laws to leadership. And what he says is that a leader is, you look at the effectiveness of a leader, and the people that you lead will never outgrow your lid. So if you, and this isn't just you, if somebody was, let's say, a 6 on their leadership abilities, their people would only be about a 4 or 5. But as a leader, the more you grow within your leadership abilities, you raise that lid of leadership. If you get to like an 8 or 9, because I don't believe we're ever 10s. You know, we're always learning and growing, which is what you're passionate about. Then and only then can the people around you learn and grow. And so leading through times of transition, you know, it didn't just start for you today or last month. It really started in 2019, and it's like 2019 set you up for what's happening now. And so I would just love for you to share where you were in 2019 that helped you with this transition.
Well, thank you. And you said a few things that are near and dear to me, learning and growing. So I had plenty of opportunity to do both of those in 2019. But before I get into it, I know I'll forget to do this. So I really want to thank both you and Eric for contributing to whatever this path I'm on is, a path of just appreciation and learning and growing. And from the bottom of my heart, Mary, you and Eric have had a big influence in my life. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Well, we are so honored to have you, Rob. It goes both ways. You're somebody who's near and dear to our heart too. So thank you for saying yes.
I appreciate that. So I guess my journey of learning and growing started maybe roughly 10 years ago, but and I'm 53, so I'm a late learner. But last year, this wonderful path that I've been on of just trying to be a better human, trying to be a better leader, realize my potential. Early in 2019, I was kind of rocked. I had this little bump on my neck for a couple of months that, you know, could have been any number of things, but it wasn't going away, and decided to have it checked out in January, and discovered that it was cancer, and this lymph node, just one lymph node I had in my neck, tested positive for cancer. So then this bumpy road started for me. What my first round of surgery was at the end of January, where the doctor removed all of my lymph nodes from the right side of my neck, my right jugular vein, and all the nerves in the right side. And then in order to not have a concave in my neck, he took fat from my shoulder and backfilled my neck. So it would look presentable. So went through all that at the end of January, and dealing with all of the emotion around that, but they still had not found the tumor. So through the course of process of elimination, of scanning my brain and my lungs, they found the tumor in the base of my tongue, which this is a great place to start, because it'll explain why my voice may sound a little muffled as I talk. So that led to another pretty major surgery where they removed half of the base of my tongue. So if anyone knows someone that has cancer or survived cancer, you may know that oral cancer is one of the most treatable cancers, but it's also one of the most difficult ones in terms of the surgeries. Obviously, you're dealing with everything from the neck up. So I'm cancer-free, and just grateful for the people in my life that supported me, for the amazing doctors and nurses that supported me. But it's a great example of, despite this wonderful path I was on, and this wonderful life that I was living, just being appreciative of everything and everyone, appreciative of learning. Sometimes life likes to remind you who's in control.
Sure.
And, so that's how my 19 started. So it was a combination, and I'll make sure this second half of this is a little faster, Mary. So when I look at 19, it's about perspective for me. It was the most sort of devastating year that I've had, and also the most rewarding. So after getting through the cancer surgery, I was also punched again with the loss of my best friend in the summer of last year. But so that was also tough. So I'm like, come on, 2019, what else do you have? But I will tell you that it ended just more amazingly than I could have ever imagined. Through the course of that, I was also going to school. I continued taking classes. Coincidentally, my son was also taking classes, and we ended up being able to graduate in December together. So that's how my 2019 began, and that's how my 2019 ended, in just the most wonderful way.
So leading through times of transition, so you have this huge territory, this region that you're leading, your world is absolutely rocked, and you have pain, and having to let go, and you think you're moving through, and then you have a big bombshell, but you keep going. And to be able to transition, that's part of life. We have so many mountains, we have so many valleys, we have so many obstacles. And I really believe it sets us up for today, where we're at today. Because if we get stuck in those mountains and grab a hold of those obstacles, we never move forward. And how amazing that, in spite of it all, and that just speaks to who you are as an individual, Rob, is that you have this hunger to learn, to grow, to transition, and keep fighting and keep fighting. And I remember seeing you in July. And what I know about you is that as a leader, you walk your talk. You challenge the status quo. You have no problem raising your hand saying, I don't agree. Have you thought about it this way? Yet at the same time, you are one of the most empathetic leaders I know. And to be able to truly see this transition go to the pain, to being able to be grateful and learning, and then get to celebrate with your son. What an amazing, that's life in a nutshell.
It is.
So when you walked into 2020, You know, a lot of times people will have like, this is my year of, this is what's going to happen, because 2019's done. And for a lot of people it was rocky and you got to celebrate. So what were your thoughts going into 2020 of, this is my year of?
I would say it was a year of appreciation. When you went through what I went through in 2019, you start to realize the people that have your back and the people that love you. And I remembered my mom and Jackie specifically, sleeping at the hospital. Their strength going through that process, and that the strength that they sort of bled into me, and which gave me strength, made me appreciate them more. So 2020, just reminded me to love more the people that are closest to me. And also, one of my areas of strength, and I know we're talking a lot about growing and learning. I'm convinced that this path that I'm on, wherever it takes me, there was a source of strength in that path, and I needed that path to get me through some of those challenges in 19, and in 2020, it just became even more clear that I need to love and be loved by the people around me. And I need to stay rock solid on this path that I'm on and continue to push myself, continue to drive, and continue to learn. So that was my perspective at the beginning of 2020.
So then we get into March and our whole world is rocked. And you're like appreciating, things are going, and then all of a sudden transition again. So how are you leading? So taking the lessons you learned from 19, how are you taking and applying these lessons now, leading differently within your team?
Yeah, so perspective is a word that I'm using a lot now. It is sort of suspending my own personal views, personal experiences, my personal biases, and trying to look through the lens of others. And I think what 19 taught me is, nurses and doctors, when this crisis hit, and to see the level of care and dedication that nurses and doctors are taking, I saw that firsthand on me. So having that perspective made me really appreciate what they do. And in terms of essential businesses, I mean, the HVAC industry, and I'll say the trades in general, my perspective is I love the trades. The trades are so vital. They are more than essential. They are the structure by which all things happen in society. And when I think about nurses and doctors and their ability to care, it's HVAC technicians, it's electricians, it's plumbers, it's mechanics of all industries, tradesmen that enable those whose professions are to care. It enables them to care. So we attack from a leadership standpoint. We attacked it sort of from a very human standpoint. Our focus was not on hitting a number. It was not on budgets or what did we sell today. It was about infusing humanity into our day-to-day activities. And we started by calling customers and just saying, how are you? What's going on? Is your family okay? And what's beautiful about leadership is when you see leadership displayed on your team, not because you directed them to do something amazing, but they discovered their own amazing. So I saw my team delivering groceries, I saw my team um, making masks and whatever provisions were necessary that our customers needed. We almost became Amazon delivery people because we were just doing the human thing that was required at that time because it was just the right thing to do. That's what our focus has been over the last 45 plus days.
Well, and I can attest to the humanitarian part. Just as a personal story, my mom and my stepdad, you know, their health isn't, if they were to get COVID, it would be a bad day. Like, they could not survive it. And they're in Buckeye, which is a suburb of Phoenix. And we had no idea how to get groceries to them. Every time I go online, things would be out. They needed toilet paper, paper towels, water. And all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, I know the Goodman business unit. So many of you had been through our Bold class. And so I put you all on a text thread, and it was insane. It became a competition of who could get the supplies to my parents as fast as possible. And I'd never seen it. And it wasn't like 5 seconds later or a minute later. It was immediate response. And Rob, what you said, you came on there and you said, do not take Mary's money. This is on us. And you have no idea what that did for our family, because you provided us something that we didn't have. You know, as the children, we were lost. We were so scared for my mom and dad, you know, just going, what could happen? We can't get to them. And you gave us the white flag. And it's the continued, you know, not just for us as, you know, friends, as colleagues, but I know that you are doing that out there. And for all those people who listen, you know, right now, I truly believe it is not about the bottom line. It's not about the results will come. Right now, we get back into what's most important. Givers gain. The more we give, the more we get. That's a universal law. You know, Zig Ziglar says, if we want to get ahead, it's helping other people get ahead. And it's not giving to get, it's giving because it's right. It's giving because it's truth. And that's who you are, Rob. And watching your team just rally, whew, I got to witness that firsthand.
Thank you for saying that. And it says a lot about my team. And, you know, as a leader, we you know, my why as a leader is to move people in a positive direction. And, you know, sometimes you're able to, you're successful, and sometimes you're not. But the last 45 days or so, I've seen a lot of whys on my team. And it's pretty special as a leader to see sort of them express themselves, their own whys, and demonstrate leadership in the way that's right for them. And I'm just so humbled and proud to see that, and lucky as hell to be a part of the team I'm on, the company I work for, and I'm just very blessed.
You know, Gandhi says we get to be the change that we want to see in the world. And as you are on this path to learning and growing, and you live that, it allows your team to be the same. And, you know, just watching them step up, like you're the proud dad going, look at all these people who are rising. And you're also humble. You don't take it, it's like, I did this. It is, you're coming from this right place. How do I teach? How do I empower? So leading through transition, we all get to fail forward. What are some areas that, as you've been learning and growing, that, it didn't work out too well? So what were some of the mistakes, and what did you learn?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you how badly I need my team because they often correct me and keep me out of trouble. Yeah, you know, I'm a real big fan of the idea of learning organizations, and the simple concept, and it's very complex, but I'm simple-minded, so I'll say it in simple ways, is how we collaborate, how we see success or a great idea in someone, and that's shared, and how do we duplicate that, and how do we speak honestly to one another, authentically to one another, so we are free to say, you know, and trust me, my team is more than comfortable telling me when I'm wrong. but I hope that they also know that there's a certain amount of trust that we have, and I see that in high-performing teams, and I humbly say that I'm a part of a high-performing team, because we can tell each other the truth without retribution. We can push each other even when we're not in the mood to be pushed, and we can encourage one another, not in some sort of false, inspirational, positive-minded way, but the push is coming because I know that they care about me, and they know I care about them. So it's fun to be a part of that environment.
So how do you create that environment? Because we have leaders who are high-performing leaders driving results, yet they don't have an open door policy where their team can give them real feedback and then you actually receive it. There's a lot that goes into that. So how did you create that?
I think it starts with me. It starts with the leader. What's the term, bear witness, right? I need to conduct myself in a certain way that may open the eyes and minds of others to want to be inquisitive. So I do think that because I'm a student of leadership, and I share books, I share videos, I shared my experience at ASU when I was pursuing my degree. I shared that. My team was a part of my learning experience. And as a result, in some way, I hope, I'll say humbly, that may have sparked some interest in wanting to pursue some interest in leadership or business that they may have. And I believe that sort of it just snowballs like that. And then as they learn something, they share that there's a reciprocity in knowledge. And that's fundamentals of a learning organization, where there's just this constant back and forth of, it's not about me being right or you being right. Why don't we just arrive at the most right answer for our people, for our business, and move forward?
There's a quote that I heard, and I love this. It says, do you want to be right or do you want a solution? And great leaders, it's not about being right. It is arriving to, let's create a win-win. How do I understand where you're coming from? And also recognizing, am I just being stubborn right now? What's the best solution and how do we get there?
Absolutely. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, I push. I'm a driver. I think my inner metrics is pretty high D.
Oh yeah, that D, dominance, 99.
but I think that once again, I say this with great humility, because I know that I make mistakes daily. But when I push, I'm sincerely pushing for the right answer, and I really don't care about mine. I will defend my answer.
Sure.
If someone else is unable to adequately defend theirs. But I'm really most interested in the right answer. I am not married to my ideas. I'm married to the best ideas.
Yeah, as I said, there's quite a few different leaders, different people within different leadership roles on this call. We have people who lead teams. We have people who are essential workers. We have people who've been furloughed. We have people right now that are so lost. We have people who are scared. They're hurting. What would you say? What are some of your words of wisdom to help them lead, whether it's a team or their own life through transition right now?
Wow, that's a tough question. And again, I'll start by saying with the most humility. When I see folks that are out of work, businesses closed, people that are furloughed, it's more than just not having a paycheck to pay bills. It's about a loss of value, a loss of dignity. And in some way, I learned about that last year and understand that. And all I can say, if it provides any relief to those that are suffering the most, is just stay laser focused on being the very best you, and things will get better, things will improve, but you have to make a conscious effort for them to improve. And I know that's very difficult to think about when there's no income coming in and food on the table. I can't even imagine that place. But you know, if you have a bigger goal to achieve, a greater journey to be on, it will help immensely that through this period will pass, you'll learn from it, and you'll move forward. That's really all the advice I can give in the most respectful way.
Well, and even as you were sharing, all of a sudden, what I started thinking about was when you were talking about your why. And if you're more connected to your why, even though it's disrupted right now, you can still live pieces of your why. Why am I here? What do I want to do? How do I make a difference? How do I create hope? Because if you need hope, you have to create it, right?
Yeah, my why of moving people in a positive direction did not change in the hospital. I was giving pep talks to other patients that were, you know, experiencing the same thing I was experiencing, because, and by the way, it's a very selfish, to want to move people in a positive direction is very selfish. And by the way, it's okay, because it makes me feel good to make others feel good. So even in the darkest times, you can choose to make others feel good. And what that pays you back is just immeasurable, and I'm grateful for it.
Making a difference, being that hope.
Yes.
There was a question that, well, actually, Eric and I were talking about this yesterday, and we see a lot of leaders within organizations, companies, that there's massive change happening, and they have information about upcoming changes, and their teams are scared. They're in fear, and yet the leader is not allowed to share the details of the information that they know. Does that happen to you? Has that happened to you?
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in our industry right now, and you know, there are competitors of ours that are making some economic decisions that naturally would cause concern within our company. Frankly, it concerns me. I have no control over that. We have no control over what life will throw at us. My focus as a leader, and my team's focus, even though the HVAC industry is an essential business, we have to be essential. We have to be the most important person to our customers, to each other. We have to have our backs right now. I believe from, you know, the bottom of my heart and my head that if we can just be the best, the most essential human we can be during this time, that will be rewarded, and we'll either come out of this in a far better condition or a far less worse condition.
So in regards to that, yesterday when I was on the webinar call with Goodman, we were talking about the change curve, and we all go through it, right? There's versus the shock of what just happened, I can't even comprehend, to denial. This is fake news. This isn't really, nope. They would never do that, never say that. Then we get into anger and frustration, blaming, because that's where the fear lives. And that's the emotion we know the most. We'll hit depression, where it is so overwhelming in what we're going through that we numb. And then once we get out of that protection mode and we can think that there's hope, we'll start to do the experiment phase, right? We'll put our toe in the water and it's fail forward and let's figure this out. And whoop, that didn't work, but let's get back up. And then we go into decisions, and then we go into integration. So where you're at as a leader in the company might be one place, and yet your employees and some of the frontline and even your dealers and your contractors are in a complete different place. Mm-hmm. How do you communicate change to them in a way that, because sometimes there's things that you can't say, but how could you communicate to help them?
The word that I've been using lately is distinguish ourselves, not differentiate ourselves, not just be different, but to be different and at a higher level. I want to come out of this, if we're talking purely about the business and relationships with our customers and what that looks like now and as we come out of this, there's this sort of internal thing we talk about, the return on rebound. Mm. And how can we arrive at the highest return when the rebound, once it occurs? And I'm convinced that it goes back to, did we, during the toughest times of serving our beloved HVAC customers, did we leave something memorable? Did we make a difference during this tough time that distinguished us, not just differentiated us, that distinguished us from every other competitor, so that maybe, just maybe, when the rebound does hit, we'll be thought of slightly ahead of those folks and be rewarded with their business. So that's the main focus right now, is just earning the most loyalty.
That is so powerful. Return on rebound, and what distinguishes us. Because in fear, what we do is we hunker down. This is ours. We're so afraid. What is our competitors going to do? Oh my gosh, we're not doing this. We need to get ahead. And it puts us right back into this hamster wheel of fear. And if we can just step back and just say, wait, what's going to make us different?
Yes.
And how do we connect? Because right now people, and this is my belief, is that people don't want to be sold to.
Oh.
They want to be connected with.
Absolutely.
And the more you connect, the more they come alongside, the more the relationship is built.
No question. From everything that I've seen and understood in relationship building, that is absolutely a fact. The folks that are showing humanity right now will be the winners coming out of this. Mm-hmm. And it's not a facade. We're truly showing the human side, which is what we need right now. We not only need to live it because we need it ourselves, but there's so many people that it just makes such a difference in their lives, because we don't know their lives from their perspective, but we can certainly have a positive influence in their lives.
Absolutely. One thing I didn't mention, so those of you who are on the call, if you have questions for Rob, there's a place where you can actually ask questions. If you would like to get on and just get on the video, so there's a different level of connection, type that in the chat and I will put you in. We covered your why.
We spoke about my why. I see from Michael, how do you lead up to those above you when you run into walls, creating the culture that you have locally? So don't ever give up. I think that we just have to continue to influence, and when we're trying to make a positive difference in the lives of an organization or a larger group of people, we're going to be told no, or I disagree, or we're not going to do that. But I'm convinced that we just keep peppering at it, and we keep having conversations, either group conversations or individual conversations, and we try to get a group of influencers to help us with that messaging. So just don't give up, and appropriately state your case, and press on. And that's how we'll make change.
Absolutely. Well, yesterday we were also talking the power of what the 4 core things that humans crave right now. And connection,
Yes.
we crave connection so much. And that showed up across the board. Almost 50% of the people on the call, out of 200 plus people, were saying, man, right now I need connection. We need routine, we need structure, we need order. We also need the freedom to have choice and autonomy. And we also need to know that we're competent, that we add value. When you look at those 4 areas, for you, what stands out the most for you? What do you need?
Well, certainly connection part. I'm blessed to be quarantined with my beautiful fiance, who's sitting on the sofa next to me. So that's a great place to be. Well, I would.
I'm going to pause you for 1 second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because when you talk about connection,
Mm-hmm.
so you're high risk.
Yeah.
You're high risk. So you're working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie is a flight attendant, and she has to fly whether the plane has people in it or not, which puts her even at a high risk because she's still around people. Your mother, you shared, is 75 years old, she's still working in the grocery store. So she's at high risk. She's at high risk to bringing something around you. Your son, I mean, you're basically quarantined in a way. So how do you create that connection?
Well, I've probably talked more with my team, either virtually, via text, email, than I have prior to this crisis. And in thinking about and sort of mentally preparing for our conversation today, I realized how much I appreciate that. I mean, I'm texting with Quentin, my boss, and my peers almost into the evening every night. None of it is productive, by the way. but I realize how important that is, and how much I miss that under this current environment. So we absolutely all miss personal connection. I know Nathan spoke about that, and Michael spoke about that on a different call yesterday. I think what I see that I hope will carry well beyond this is all of these examples of kindness. Mm-hmm. And I really hope we don't lose that. I've really made a committed effort not to watch much news lately, because it's really mentally, psychologically, emotionally just debilitating. But there are some amazing folks that are just spreading positivity and great examples of kindness. And it's nice to hear my mom, as you mentioned, who's a cashier. It's nice to hear that customers going through the store are a little different than maybe the frantic sort of disposition that they had a few weeks ago. They're kinder. They're saying thank you. I really hope that continues. And Jackie, as a flight attendant, I mean, she misses not being able to be kind to her passengers and to interact with her coworkers and put a smile on someone's face. And we need to do that. And we need to not forget, gosh, please learn from this. let's not forget to be kind to one another and to maybe, just maybe, drop our biases a little bit to understand someone else's perspective and to appreciate them.
Well, we talk about you being a leader, and I know you don't like to talk about yourself, sharing what it means to be, you know, just your thought process in leading and through transition, raising the lid, helping, empowering your team. And so often we don't hear the impact that we make or the difference that we make. And I actually have a couple of people who want to share some of the lessons that they've learned through you and the impact that they've made or you've made in their life. So hang on one second here.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, good afternoon. Yeah, no, thank you. It's been a really interesting time, you know, working for Rob, with Rob and with the team. You know, you talk about his leadership style and how he's about things. And when he says he's a driver, he's not lying. He's definitely a driver, but he does it from an angle that challenges you in a different way. I can tell you, when I interviewed for the position, I was very successful in my previous career. Spent 20 years in an industry that I absolutely finally got to the panel interview, and you know, he stops the interview mid interview and asked me why I was, and I was like, I don't know, to make as much money as I possibly can to provide for my family. And he's like, that's your what? That's not your why. And I walked out of the interview going, there's no way I got this job. Like I blew it. Oh, you know, what am I gonna do? And it's funny because 6 months later, I'm employed at the company, and he asked me again, do you know what your why is? And I still couldn't figure it out. Read through the book, and finally one day I remember calling Rob and telling him I figured it out. You know what I mean? And that was his way of getting me to figure out how to lead as well. It's just, he inspired a change in me, just like you did when I went to Bold and got to experience that it's something that it changed me as a person. It changed me as a father, it changed me as a spouse, it changed me as a leader in the company. And it allowed me to really get outside of my comfort zone and own who I really was. So I appreciate that from you, Rob. The thing that definitely changed my life. And I'm grateful.
Well, thank you. Wow, that's beyond humbling. So glad for everything you give back to me, Nathan. And the only thing I have to say is, what the heck are you doing on this webinar? You should be selling something.
We got the team out selling.
Thank you, Nathan.
Absolutely.
Who's next? Alyssa, you're up.
Oh, geez.
I had to bring her because the two of you have talked to me. How do I work with each other so many times? I'm like, this is perfect.
We're still working on it.
Sorry, it had me rejoin the meeting. Sorry. Yes, she had to include me. I'm sorry. But to follow up really quickly from what Nathan touched on, Rob has people embrace what their superpowers are, for sure. And it's something we talk about a lot, talking about our personal whys. And Rob always finds a way in whatever situation we're working through and helping coach me, is to figure out how I can embrace and live my why through whatever situation we're going through at that time. So he just always allows me to be true to myself and to be authentic to myself. So I can always involve my superpower of connecting with human beings in my job, and to help drive my team, to help service our customers, to help how I speak with our stakeholders at corporate as well. Sorry. Oh, quarantine's so fun. Yes, my 5-year-old, he always sneaks in when I'm on a video call, and usually it's when Rob is on the call. So yes, there's my 5-year-old. The other piece too that has really come out even more so than it has in the past is Rob allows us to keep our sense of humor. And what I really appreciated, I think it was like the second week that we had this madness of working remotely, is he held my first virtual happy hour where he had the team come together and bring their own drinks together. And I mean, he talked about it at length earlier, but just the fact that you can hold on to the human piece of all of this and to come together as a team and remind ourselves that we are all human. We're all going through the same transition right now of trying to figure things out. And I just really appreciated that Rob always has that sense of humor and brings that back and makes us laugh. And I just love it. It's something I really love about you, Rob. So thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Alyssa. Wow. Geez, thanks, Mary.
You're welcome. This one's on just audio.
Oh, wow, my
All
mom.
right, Mama.
Hi, hon.
I'm,
Well, hi, Mary.
Hi.
I'm going to tell you, you have inspired me today. I'm going to try to get through this. I'm a crier, so I'm going to try very hard not to do that. Rob, I tell you all the time how proud I am of you. And I don't think that says enough for what I feel at this moment listening to you. You have always wanted more for yourself and others around you, whether it be professionally or personally. You've always wanted more. You've always encouraged more. And the decisions you make are never hasty ones. They're always made with conviction and with deep thought. I've seen you go through challenges, always handling them, especially last year, with determination and grace. I mean, beyond grace. You've been there for me as well, with love, support, and encouragement through my difficult times. And as I thought about that, I wondered, did I fail to let you know how much that really meant to me? And I want you to know it meant everything to have you there, being there for me. So, Rob, I'm going to add this day to the many moments, wonderful moments that you've given me. And I want to let you know that I will continue to watch your journey with great love and joy in my heart. But I'm going to tell you, when I tell you I'm proud, don't take it lightly, because it comes from deep in my soul. Thank you.
thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Shirley.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, if anyone's ever heard me say I'm a proud mama's boy, now you know why.
All right, Sam, you're up.
I don't know how I'm supposed to top that at all. I don't know how to top that. Okay, I had some stuff written, but she should have gone last.
Can your mama adopt me?
I just had a couple of things that you've taught me, and I'm sure your team and everyone around you for forever. Big thing that you've always told me throughout my whole life is get out of your comfort zone so you can improve yourself instead of just staying the same person throughout your whole life. And the importance of just self-confidence when it comes to getting things done, and surrounding yourself with good people who encourage you just as much as you want to encourage them to be better.
Wow, you do listen to me. Thank you, Sam. I love you, son.
Thanks, Sam. I brought different people in because it's one thing when you lead a region, when you lead a team. So many times people, they put themselves in boxes. I'm a leader here, I'm one person here, and I'm one person here. And I wanted the people who are on here, the people to see you, that truly when we lead through change, through challenge, for the good times and the bad, that you're not two different people. Like across the board, we are seeing the same lessons that you teach, that you live, you're authentic. And And I believe that's a true trait of an amazing leader, is that it is across the board, that people get to see you for who you are, not just as a regional manager, as a, you know, as a friend, but also as a son, as a father. And we have one more person who wants to say something to you. So Jackie.
Well, I just have a lot of what everybody else has said about him, including his employees. And for me, one of the greatest things was he's just taught me to be such a great communicator, which was really well needed in our relationship, and to think before I speak, which is always a challenge. But he brings so much humor to our lives too. He said one day his goal for me, was to make me laugh so hard I couldn't speak every day. And so he really does that every day. He makes me laugh so hard to where you can't even get a word out. So yeah, he's pretty amazing. Many times our gym is right next to the home office, and so I'll be in there working out and I just eavesdrop on his conversations, because it's not about like what he's actually saying, but really how he's saying it, you know. And it's always so impressive to me. He never gets angry. Like, I've never heard him really raise his voice, maybe make it a little more stern, but never like go off on somebody or just lose it. I've never heard him lose it. So it's, to me, that's really is impressive, because it's not something I can probably say I've never done. So, and he just makes me always try to be a better person, you know. I mean, I really do say that. He makes me, he helps me realize that I have more in me than I always give. So, so I always try to be better. Yeah, it's the truth.
Thank you, honey.
So happy birthday, Rob.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome. Thank you. I wanted to bring them in because
Yeah, thanks for the heads up.
it goes back into, we crave connection, and we can do, it's the ability to shift, to adapt, to pivot, and we can get it in different ways. And it's a time that I believe more than ever that we get to pour back into people, because you, as a leader, who you are so respected, one who challenges the status quo, you also show the humanistic side. It's the authentic, the connection. And that's what I really believe within this time. And this is my hope going out of it, is that we connect more from this point forward, that we figure out that there's nothing more powerful than that connection of human souls.
Absolutely, and we're still learning, and I know I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being on here, for listening to Rob. If you have questions, I know he's got the heckling section. I've been really surprised that the Goodman group has been so quiet. Maybe I don't know. But I just want to thank you. If we will put this up on the YouTube, so we'll have part of the interview. And so if you want to share it, if you want to see it. And next Tuesday, same time, 11:30, will be Amber Johnson.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see you all. Thanks again, Rob. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day.